We need strong borders. We have to stop drugs and crime and criminals and human trafficking, and we have to stop all of those things that a strong wall will stop. The Army Corps of Engineers are fantastic, and a lot of great things are happening. I think in the end, we're going to be very successful with the lawsuit.
Well, President Trump, they're saying he has every right to declare a national emergency to build a wall along the southern border as he faces several legal challenges now to his executive action. Time for America's A-Team. Brad Blakeman is here, former deputy assistant to President George W. Bush. Jeannie Zaino, political science professor at Iona College and senior advisor to Applied Techonomics.com, I suppose. And Tim Carney, Washington Examiner commentary editor and author of the new book, Alienated America. All right, we got through that. And welcome to you, Jeannie. Nice to have you here. Why don't you start us off here? Is the president winning on this issue?
Well, he very well may win in the courts. We know that the courts tend to defer to the president when it comes to executive power, so he may win. But I'll tell you, my big problem with all of this is the dysfunction it shows about Washington, D.C. and our federal government as a whole. Why are we in this position that the president has to declare an emergency about an issue that we've known about for 20 years that Congress has not addressed? So my frustration as a political scientist and a consultant is with Congress and the fact they haven't acted on immigration. And whether you like Donald Trump or not, he's in the same position Barack Obama was. They're elected to do something. They cannot do it, and Congress doesn't address it.
The latest Fox News polling, President Trump bypassing Congress and declaring emergency to build a wall. Here's how people responded. 38% favor that move. 56% oppose it, Brad.
It's lonely at the top. And very few times in American history do we appreciate leaders in their time. It's only after time when we can look back and say what they did was right. That's what leadership is all about. It's not necessarily putting your finger in the air and determining what the polls say. It's what the president's information tells him that's needed. It's not a want, it's a need.
Well, my problem goes further back. It's that Congress has been handing more and more power to the executive and doing less and less over the years. So as a conservative, the Constitution says Congress is supposed to make the laws and approve the funding, but this sort of thing where the executive makes up their own spending, their own laws, has been going on for decades more and more. So Trump is doing what his predecessors did. That doesn't mean it's good. It's normal, but it's normal because Congress has been handing its power over to the executive.
Change in government, isn't it? Jeannie, you say he wins in court.
He may win in court. We don't know yet. You know, they defer to the president on executive authority. If it gets to the Supreme Court, he may win. But I agree with Tim. This is a problem. The reason that Donald Trump was attractive to many voters was because he promised to do something that Congress has abdicated its responsibility over. So this is much bigger. Was the law intended to give him this power? Probably not. But he's doing it like Barack Obama said, I have a pen and I have a phone. It's the same thing.
You know, Tim, when you walk in the halls of Congress, you report on this too, right? I mean, how did lawmakers feel about government changing that way? Because it's a trend.
They sort of quietly hand it over. The executive is not taking power from Congress. Congress is giving it to the White House. Then they like to complain about it when they think it's getting abused, when it's getting used in an opposite direction. But they're the ones who have made the decision. There's a few who really complain about it. Justin Amash is a congressman who really gets upset about it. But most of them are happy to give up that power.
Brett, this isn't a raw executive power grab. This is legislative power given to the president. This is a statute that the president is using. So that Congress said, Mr. President, in the 70s, we understand that sometimes discretion is needed and we can't get bogged down in congressional back and forth. The president has to act on emergencies. That's exactly what the president is doing. He's acting within his statutory authority given to him by Congress to use his discretion to protect this nation. And I believe you're right. I think the courts eventually are going to see it his way.
Obviously, if he wins in the court, as you're suggesting, this is going to be a huge implication for 2020 then.
Absolutely. And, you know, it may not be long before you see a President Warren or somebody else declaring a national emergency on gun control or climate change. You know, this whole slippery slope that conservatives and others have talked about. That is the real danger here if we take a step back and look more broadly than just at the challenges of the moment. This is where we're going.
Back to Brad's point about actually getting border security, and you look at the polling and how it's shifted. It's gone in his favor the longer the battle went on. You would agree with that, correct?
There's no question.
I think the other thing that's been overlooked in this, and we've reported on it, but you're looking for a certain pile of money. There is a substantial pile of that money that you can access for border security that's outside of the range of a legal challenge.
There's no doubt.
Meaning you can get border security and start building on that.
Absolutely, but not before the courts weigh in. That's the sad part. And by the way, the 16 states that are suing now the president on his power, if you look at who they are, it's 16 attorneys general who are Democrats. So they're using this as a political tool. It's not being used as a shield. It's being used as a sword. And the president, he must defend his right.
Tough to tell how this story is going to end, Tim.
Well, I do think the main point is there's some money, some billion or two he can get for the wall, but when he wants more, it's going to be a long time in the
reporting
courts.
as much as $4 billion last week. Is that not true?
I mean, it's going to depend on what the lawyers have to say here, because he does have discretion over some money, but he can't go ahead and appropriate the money. The Constitution says that's up to Congress.
Final thoughts from you. It's nice to have you this morning.
Thank you so
much.
First
timer, right?
First timer. I'm so glad to be here. No, I mean, let's look at the Constitution. Article 1, Congress is supposed to appropriate the money, and the president is not supposed to do this. Congress gives him this power. It's a real constitutional battle, but it goes back to the fact that Congress does not want to act and take responsibility, or cannot act and take responsibility on key issues. That's a huge dysfunctional problem for all of
Frame
us.
this as a 2020 issue. How does he run on it?
Well, immigration is a huge issue that most of the elites do not get. It has its impact on a local level. You guys mentioned my book title earlier, Alienated America. There's an alienation out there where people look at Washington and say they don't get why immigration is affecting us. So I think it helps Trump just to be talking about immigration.
Brad?
Democrats say it's a campaign promise. It is a campaign promise. He was elected to deliver. He is delivering. As long as he's delivering, it is going to be a campaign issue that will continue through 2020.
Brad, Jeannie, and Tim, thank you. Our A-team this morning. Appreciate it.